Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. This is going to be a fairly long video. It was a special request type of tutorial that I got on another video that I posted about how I scan and edit images of my artwork to then be able to post online or to create really high quality images that I can then upload and place on different products for printing, like making mugs, blankets, notebooks, things like that. And so I had that video, but because I have a really high quality scanner, the photo editing software that I use, I didn't really have to do that much with it, make a lot of adjustments. And so someone commented and requested on that photo saying, hey, it'd be really great to be able to see an image that needs a lot more editing done to it rather than just, because most people don't have access to a really high quality scanner. I'm very fortunate that I found one on eBay years ago for a very great price and I've held on to it ever since. So that's what this video is about. I am going through the steps I take using Affinity Photo is the software I use. I don't get any sort of compensation or support from them for talking about their software. It's just one that I really like and I use in place of Adobe Photoshop because it's much more affordable. It's a one-time payment kind of software, which is fantastic. So I'm going to take you through that process. Again, it's going to be a fairly long tutorial and it's going to be for this little painting. I took a purposely crappy photo, a purposely cruddy photo of this piece with lighting challenges, and it's washed out a little bit so that I can show more drastic steps for making edits to still get a fairly high quality image that you could then post online, or more appropriate for actually printing, because I changed the resolution to 300 pixels per inch for printing. So anyway, get into all the details in a moment. Before I do, I did want to mention my website, CoreyFrankCreates.com. It's the best way to get to know me more, get in touch, see what I'm all about. I have a weekly email newsletter there, and when you sign up for it, you can get my no-brainer watercolor supplies buying guide. So I'd love for you to be able to check that out, connect with me that way. I have my online art shop, my online courses, as well as a list of any upcoming in-person workshops and classes I'm teaching. All of that is on there, CoreyFrankCreates.com. I'd love for you to go check it out. Okay, enough with this intro. Let's go ahead and dive into this very long tutorial. Okay, you can see how on my screen here I have an image. I'm going to open it just to show you that full screen. And you can see there's a lot of lighting problems happening. I have a really bright yellow kind of concentrated light over on this side and then a shadow over on this side of the photo. And obviously I will need to crop in on this so that it's just the painting that we see. So there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done on this image. It also only has a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. So if I right click on that image and go to properties and then go to details, you can see here it says 72 dpi dots per inch or pixels per inch, whichever you prefer. So that is not the highest resolution, but thankfully we are working with a really good width and height. So we have a lot of pixels to work with. It'd be much more problematic if this image did not have as many pixels to work with, because if we tried to blow it up, it would degrade pretty quickly. So if you are working with an image that's a lower resolution, hopefully you have one that has a lot of pixels on the width and height. Or you have a higher resolution image to begin with. Ideally, you want a minimum of 300 pixels per inch resolution. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show you an image that needs a bit more work. I have a really high quality scanner that enables me, here, I'll go ahead and just open this as an example. So this was scanned, and I actually didn't need to do any color correcting on it. It was just from my Epson GT 15000 scanner, which takes super high quality images, and I will show you the resolution is very high on this. It should be 1200. Yep, it's 1200 dots per inch, so that is a lot. But most folks probably don't have access to that kind of scanner, so I wanted to show you how you could even take maybe some photos from your phone and still get a decent quality ending with some editing. So here is kind of the back and forth. So it was originally this image. And then I was able to do enough editing to get something looking like this. Now that was just kind of me practicing before I did this actual video. So I am going to go through the whole process again, show you what I did to get to this point. And hopefully the second image that I edit turns out looking similar to this one. So this is just a very simple painting. It's a 4x6 inch, so it is smaller. It can get a little more complicated when you have larger pieces, but again, this is for demonstration purposes. So what I always like to do is have my image, and I'm gonna go ahead, I selected it, and on my keyboard I'm pressing Control and C for copy. And of course I have a Windows platform instead of Mac, but with Mac it would be Command C. So I have Control C or Command C, and now I'm going to press Control V or Command V for paste. And see, we have a copy that came up here. I always prefer to make a copy just in case, so I can, if I need to go back to my original image, I can. I'm going to right click on it and select Open with Affinity Photo 2. There is only really one thing lacking for the most part that I wish they had that Photoshop does, and I will talk about that in just a second. So here I have my image. I'm gonna do Control plus on the keyboard to sort of zoom in a bit. And the first thing I want to do is crop in on this image. So I have my crop tool over to the left here. And, oh, I shouldn't have zoomed in first. Sorry, I'll press Control 0 to get back down so it's fully fitting in the frame. And you have here the mode, and you want to choose unconstrained so that you can move it around to any size that you want. So here I'm gonna go right there, and then to here, just like that. Zoom in a little. See, yeah, I went a little too far. So adjust. I am going to have a little bit of a corner cut off here, but that's okay. It's not actually cutting off any part of the painting, so I'm fine with it. Again, make sure. Go. I just want to make sure I have all white edges here and nothing seeping. I don't want any pieces of the table coming in on the piece here. So once I have that size to where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. Perfect. So now we have cropped in on our image. And the next step is I do want to change the resolution of this document. So I'm going to go to Document and Resize Document. Now this is where I was talking about the capability of resizing does not quite have the function that Adobe Photoshop does. So with Photoshop, you have an option with the units to change by percentage, which if you had a really low quality image that was small and didn't have a lot of pixels on the length or width, you could choose percentage and increase by 1%, so by 101% every single time, and that would scale it up small enough each time that you could you'd have to do it over and over and over to get it to a large enough size, but it would maintain the quality for the most part. Unfortunately, this does not have that capability. It is only in dimensions rather than percentage, so we are a little limited by that. But I like to stick with pixels, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deselect resample, and for the resolution, dots per inch, instead of 72, I'm going to take it up to 300. Once I enter that, I am then going to reselect resample. I could definitely change around the dimensions here if I wanted to, but I think that is perfectly sufficient right there. And I do like for the resample method to use nearest neighbor. Now, if you try nearest neighbor and it doesn't work for you, you could try some of these other ones. You can always experiment. But I do like nearest neighbor, and it worked well. So I'm going to hit resize. And there you go. You can see we have this resized image. We didn't lose any of the quality. It still looks really nice. And now it's going to be at a higher resolution. So if you wanted to be able to print it out, it would be much easier to do so with the 300 dots per inch. So we've now changed, we've cropped, we've changed our document size. And I am going to now start in with some kind of color balance or editing. So I want to start with levels. Typically, that's one of the first things I start with. So I have my levels here, and I'm not going to choose any of the default presets. Any of the presets, I'm going to choose default. Drag this over here. And for the black level, this image, again, the light is just washing things out compared to the original painting. So I am going to take that black level to a little higher percentage. Now, I don't want to do anything too drastic at the beginning here, just because, you know, if you take it too far, it can start looking really wonky. So I tend to try do fairly small adjustments. 12% is actually even a little larger than I normally go, but we'll stick with that. And then I'm only going to take the white level. See, if I went this far, I'd be totally washed out. So I'm just going to take it down to 98. And once I kind of have the way I like the way that looks, now output black level is actually the opposite of black level. When you take it down, it actually lightens things up, and same with output white level. It kind of darkens things. So I tend to not use those as much. I prefer to just adjust the black and white levels themselves. So once I've done that, I'm going to hit merge. And you can see in my history here each of the steps that I've done, which is very convenient for easily being able to move back to an earlier step in your process. So, okay, that concludes kind of the first piece of adjusting the levels. Now I'm going to scroll down here in my adjustment options down to selective color and hit default. And now you can see it brings up this window, and I can now choose specific colors within this piece to adjust. So I'm going to start with whites because that is where the most trouble is happening. So I am going to take, let's see, I'm going to take some black out because, again, I want to kind of try and lighten some of those areas. I'm going to take the cyan all the way out. I'm also going to take the magenta out, and then you can see now it's looking a little yellowy, so I'm also going to take all the yellow out. We still have some trouble with this lower right-hand corner looking kind of bluish gray. So my next step would be to go to the neutrals. Now I want to show this to you because it's going to make sense why I will have to proceed to another step. So if I were to try and take out cyan, look at how it actually affects too much of the painting, because those sort of neutral midtones are sort of throughout all in here in the tree. The, you know, software is reading that as kind of a midtone, just like this color. So I can't really do this and make adjustments without completely messing up the coloring on the piece itself. So for now, I'm going to leave the neutrals alone. And let's see, I want to adjust some of the blacks because these blacks are just not quite dark enough. You can see right here, some of the highlighting from the light glare is making this a little too dark. Well, you'll technically have to take my word for it because the image itself you can't see, but just take my word for it. So I am gonna, I chose for my color, I'm gonna adjust blacks, and I'm gonna add, let's see, I think I'm gonna take the black to 30, and then it's also looking a little brown instead of more of like a bluish black, and in the painting it is more of a bluish black, so I'm also gonna bump up the cyan tones in this. And that's looking pretty decent. I'm okay with that. If I go too far, it just creates a little too much of a difference there. I want it to blend a little better with the rest of the colors. So again, I'm gonna take it, maybe I'll put the black at 35. So adjusted the cyan to 30, black to 35. And then the final adjustments I'm gonna make are to the greens. They need just a little more blue in them. So I'm gonna take the cyan to 20, maybe back off a little bit of the yellow here. And for that first round of color adjusting, I'm gonna call it good. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this merge down option. You can already see if I go back to this initial step, how much of a difference we have. So that's how it initially was after we cropped, and now the merge down. See, so we've already made some good strides, but now we really do want to address the shadow on this side and kind of the irregular white background. So I'm gonna go over to my left menu bar and select the flood tool. Just gonna click and drag. Oh, actually, hold on. I'm gonna press Control deselect. So I need just a smaller area here. There we go. That did a better job. So the flood select tool is really helpful with doing a kind of general, the software kind of just reads like, okay, what is happening here? And it sort of auto reads what you might want to select. I may have to do this a couple times. I'm going to deselect again because I'm just not thrilled with how there we go. So what I did was I clicked right here and dragged part way down here, and then and then let go of my click. So that did a better job of overall reading what I really wanted to grab. I wanted to really try and select most of the white. Now there is some refining I am going to have to do here. So I'm going to switch over to my selection brush tool in this menu bar, and I'm going to press Control+ on my keyboard, which allows you to zoom in. So I am going to have to do some refining here, which can take quite a while. So I will describe that sort of beginning process of how I do it, and then I will speed it up so you don't get completely bored by all this work that I'm doing on the screen. But I do want to talk about how I do this. So right now the mode is in Add, and I'm going to the right side. So the right bracket, when I click that on my keyboard, that sizes up the size of my selector. You can see how that circle is bigger, and the left bracket sizes it back down. So that's a really convenient keyboard shortcut for sizing up or sizing down the select size of the selector tool. So if I keep it on Add, it's going to, when I click on the color, it's going to add to my selection. So I do want to continue doing that because I want to add as much of the color in as possible. So then when I do make the reason why I'm doing all this selection process is so that when I go to make adjustments to the white, it will only change the white. So I want to have all my colors selected out so that we'll only make changes to the white portions of this painting. Hey everyone, sorry, there's going to be just a little portion of this editing that is missing because I think where I ended, I was like right around here, but I didn't realize that the recording had cut off, so there's just a little portion missing. But something that I did want to quickly mention before I speed up this portion is that so I have up here the two different modes of selecting. So I have I'm using my right bracket tool or ending bracket tool to kind of size this up, left bracket tool to size it back down. So right now I have subtract selected. So that is what's adding. So this would be the perfect instance if I wanted to. So I'm clicking in here and I'm going, oh, okay, so this white portion is already selected. So I'm going to switch to the Add, size up my selector a little bit, click, and then it automatically selects that white in there. So the software does do a lot of kind of reading. You don't have to try and size everything exactly. So that's really helpful with this selector tool. So now I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a bit, but it will give you an idea that it does take a while. You do have to do kind of quite a bit of work with it. Let's see. Oh, now I got to switch back to subtract. You have to take some time to select each individual little droplet of paint, but it's worth it in the end for you to be able to edit what you need to edit. So my sped up footage is going to start now. Okay, so I think I have pretty much everything selected. Now, I didn't worry about selecting, for the most part, these white portions inside the tree. I think those are white enough that I don't need to worry about selecting them back out. I'm just gonna have most of the tree and all the droplets selected along with my signature. So now if I'm pretty sure what is actually selected is the white. If I had started with selecting the tree, then I could go to select and invert pixel selection, and then it would flop. So if I were to do that now, it would instead only be selecting the tree and the dots. But right now I'm pretty sure what is selected is actually the white, which is exactly what I want. I want the white part to be selected because that is where I want to be able to make the adjustments and not affect any of the rest of the tree. So I have my selective color along the side here. I'm going to click on default. I'll very quickly find out if I'm correct about which part is selected when I do this. So first I'm going to take out all of the cyan, and yep, you can see it's only now adjusting the white portion. And that is now looking really pink, so I'm gonna take out all the magenta as well. And it also feels a little yellowy, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove all that. And we now have a pretty basic white. I am also gonna remove quite a bit of the black in there. Maybe I'll only do about like 30%. We are gonna lose a lot of the one thing about this method is we are gonna lose a lot of the texture of the paper. So if you want that texture to show through, this will pretty much eliminate it. But better, it helps with at least getting a decent quality looking print with a clean white background and decent color quality. So I still have a little bit of this sort of shadowing over here on the right corner, so I'm gonna change to my neutrals, and I'm gonna take the black again. I'm gonna make it -40. I'm gonna take out all the blue, all the magenta, all the yellow, and then there you can see we pretty much, actually I may take this to 50%. If I take it to 100, yeah, okay, we'll bump it up higher. We'll say 75%. And so that, just by adjusting the whites and the neutrals on that background that's selected, we have really cleaned up our background. So I'm gonna hit merge, and then to really show, I'm gonna hit Control D, which means deselect, and there you go. You still have all those beautiful, clean, bright greens. All right, I'm gonna make one final adjustment, and then I'm gonna be basically done with this. So I was at the selective color, and now I'm going up to curves. And if you don't have it selected, just hit the down arrow and then click on default. I'm gonna move my window over here, but here now I have my curves window. And what I wanna do is try and make some of these middle tones blend a little better with the dark tones. Are just a little too much of a hard difference between those than is in the actual painting. So first I'm just going to go ahead and drag roughly in the middle of this curve down just a little bit, not by much. And that also helps, I make it really dramatic and you can see, and then the other way, make it very dramatic that way and it gets very light and washed out. So just a little bit adjustment right here, and then I'm going to take a second point right here and also bring it down a little bit. I don't want to do too much because when I do that, see how some of those tones start getting gray and then red. So instead very subtle movements is really all you need. And that sort of is blending a little better. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna hit merge, and then I'll go back a couple steps. I'll go to the deselect step. See how that does make a little bit of a difference between before I adjusted the curves and there's after. So things are in general like darkened up a little bit. Some of these middle tones are blending just a little better, a little more true to the actual painting. And so that is basically all the editing I feel like I need to do on this piece to make it look decent. And I just want to show you the difference between how we first started out. So I'm over in my history panel here. I'm gonna scroll all the way up back to just right after we cropped it. We didn't even change the resolution yet. So it's gonna take a while for it to default back to that because that's how many steps we had in between. But here it is, you can see all that struggle with the lighting. It's really washed out. We have a crazy shadow over here. And now I'm gonna go back to the most recent step. And again, it'll take a moment for it to get back to that point because there were so many steps in between. And here we have it. All those adjustments really cleaned it up and gave it a nice clean background. I'm gonna go ahead and hit File, Save. And I have the option to just save it flattened as another JPEG image, but since I did so much work, I'm going to go ahead and save it as an Affinity photo file. So we'll do teal tree color. I already saved that first one that I did, so I'm just going to create a second version. So there we go, hit save. So now my Affinity file is saved. I can open it back up and make further adjustments if I need to, but now I want to go ahead and export this image. So I'm going to hit export, and I do want to keep it at JPEG best quality. The whole document is fine because I want all the surface area to be there, and those settings look good. I'm going to keep it the original size. I'm going to go ahead and hit export. And yep, JPEG file, color corrected to. I'll hit save, and I'm in the correct folder already, so I don't need to navigate anywhere else. And now when I open up this folder, so you can see I have the two different versions here. So when I double click on that one, full size this. So there's the first version. There's the second. Oh, I actually didn't get it quite as dark as I did in that first one. I did, so I might have had some slight differences in some of the adjustments I made, which is fine. So really just through kind of using some of those steps, you can kind of achieve a couple different edits and choose the one which you think looks the best. I actually like the second one a little better. I think this first one I went a little too dark, especially on that signature. When I look at that signature in real life, it's not nearly as dark. So sometimes you create a couple different edits, choose the one that looks best, maybe even test out on a printer to see which one prints that looks most true to the original, and you'll be in pretty good shape. Right click, properties, we can verify that it is indeed 300 pixels or dots per inch. So higher resolution will have a better printing quality, the colors are more true to form. And that's all it takes. I know when I say all, I mean it is definitely a process, but it's worth it, and you really can do a lot, achieve a lot with this photo editing software. So I would highly recommend Affinity. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I don't get any sort of, promotion or payment for talking about their products. I just, if it's a product I really like, I want others to know about it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found that helpful. I know there is a lot of steps to it, but hopefully that will just assist you if you are in kind of a similar spot and want to be able to take decent quality images or take some images and edit them to make them decent quality. Hopefully that helps you on the way. Until my next video, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, God bless, and I will see you soon.